The Evil Dead franchise is known for being gory, for being funny, and for being campy, but what's also common in most of the films are strong female characters. And with Evil Dead Rise, that trend continues. This time, it's Alyssa Sutherland as Ellie, a mother who will stop at nothing to protect her children. But by the end of the film, she's not quite the same character we meet at the beginning. So let's talk about how Ellie changes throughout the course of the movie. Before we jump into the ending of Evil Dead Rise, I have to say this: if you've never seen an Evil Dead movie before, or it has been a while since you've watched one, these movies are not meant to be taken seriously. They refund horror/comedy flicks that came out at different points in time to make us laugh as much as they scare us. That being said, this particular movie does have a lot more heart than previous installments, and mostly because of Ellie and how determined she is to keep her kids safe. We first see her in the opening scene, and she's already shown to be a loving mother. She's going through a messy divorce from her ex-husband, but all she cares about is her kids and giving them the best life she can. She looks after her little brother Danny while also looking after her two kids, Bridget and Kassie, who are teenagers. The dynamic between Ellie and her kids is very sweet, and watching them interact with each other lets us know how much she loves them. Also some foreshadowing here, when Bridget is teasing her little brother and Ellie tells her to stop. You don't really mean that. You're just saying that because you think it'll get a rise out of me. Bridget says, whatever. You know what? Gets my goat when I'm trying to watch YouTube and you keep commenting and downvoting me. Ellie then says, that's the thing about family. We can annoy the living hell out of each other, and we would untrade it for the world. And while Ellie doesn't realize it at the time, her family is about to annoy the hell out of her in the worst way possible. Later in the movie, Ellie gets a call from her ex-husband, and he asks her if she wants the kids for Christmas. It's clear that he doesn't really care about the kids at all. He just wants them so he can show off to his new wife. Ellie responds by saying, I thought you knew. You don't get to see them unless you ask me. Her ex-husband replies, screw you. And Ellie yells back, no, you screw yourself! Merry Christmas! Before hanging up, even though Ellie is going through her own personal problems, she puts her kids first and she shows no remorse when she learns that her ex is dead. Instead, she calls him a toxic person and says that she should unfeel bad about what happened to him. It's only when Ellie and her kids move into their grandmother's condo that things start to go awry. Not long after they arrive, Danny disappears. When Ellie finds him, he has a cut on his hand and is standing over some old books. One of those books contains a demonic entity named Aligos I, and it's also referred to as the Lord of Lies. While Ellie and Danny are talking about the book, another cut appears on Danny's hand, and then he attacks Ellie and disappears. What happens next is key to understanding how Ellie changes by the end of the movie. Ellie tries everything she can to find her brother, but she can't find him anywhere. Instead, she discovers more books by Aligos I. As she reads them, she becomes convinced that they have something to do with Danny's disappearance. Soon after, she hears a noise and thinks it might be her brother, so she grabs a gun and heads into the hallway to investigate. I think this is when Ellie changes in the movie because she realizes that the only way to protect her children is to do whatever she has to do, even if that means hurting others. And what follows is her fully embracing that side of herself. At first, she feels guilt after killing her neighbor, but as more people die around her, she becomes more numb to it all. Later in the movie, she even kills her own daughter, Bridget, because her daughter has become and in the end, it works. Because of Ellie's actions, Kassie is able to escape with her boyfriend and her grandfather. In the final scene of the movie, Ellie is burned alive by the other tenants of the apartment building. But before she dies, she tells Kassie to leave her alone. Leave me alone. Don't come back for me. At this point, Ellie realizes that there's no saving her. She's too far gone and has embraced the darkness inside her. Now, for a moment, let us pretend that Ellie did unkill anyone and instead was able to defeat the demon without having to take any lives. How would the story have ended differently? I think the biggest difference would have been that Ellie would have been changed by the experience, but not nearly as much as she is in the actual movie. An example of this is in The Evil Dead 2, where Ash Williams is possessed by a demon. He fights against it, though, and defeats it. In the end, he's still himself, albeit a bit shaken by what he experienced. In most stories, defeating a great evil makes the protagonist a hero. But the reason the Evil Dead movies work is because the protagonist usually loses. When Ellie defeats the demon in an alternate ending, she would have likely become a sort of hero to a surviving daughter, and maybe even to a grandfather. However, the story would have been a lot less interesting, because we would have gotten to see how far she could go in order to protect her loved ones. In the original script for Evil Dead Rise, Ellie actually survives. And while this may seem like a better option, especially if the movie were to get a sequel, it would take away from all the themes the movie explores. For example, one of the themes of Evil Dead Rise is the power of motherhood. Ellie is willing to do anything to protect her kids, even if that means harming others. Another theme is the bond between siblings. Throughout the movie, Ellie and Danny have a close relationship. They help each other out and look out for one another. Finally, there's the theme of good versus evil. Ellie is a good person who does bad things in order to protect her kids. If Ellie had survived, the movie would have focused more on the survival aspect rather than the horror of what Ellie is forced to do. That being said, I think an alternate ending where Ellie survives would have looked something like this. After killing the demon, Ellie would have come out of the bathroom covered in blood. She would have looked at her hands in shock, realizing what she's become. Then she would have heard Kassie calling her name. Ellie would have dropped to her knees and cried out to her daughter, asking for forgiveness. Kassie would have rushed over and hugged her mom, thanking her for saving her life. At that moment, Ellie would have realized that no matter what she did, her daughter would still love her. The movie would have ended with Ellie embracing her daughter, both of them crying as they held each other close. While this ending may seem like a better option for some viewers, I think the original ending is a better choice. It leaves us with a stronger message and a more memorable performance from Alyssa Sutherland. Thank you for watching this video. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up. Also, let me know your thoughts on the ending of Evil Dead Rise in the comments below. What do you think should have happened differently? What do you think the same? All that and more can be discussed in the comments. But that's it for now. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you later!